America is the sickest country in the world. This is a direct quote from RFK Jr., the head of the Department of Health and Human Services. While he's not correct, we are sicker than people in all the other rich countries and a number of poorer countries. In 2024, we spent $5.3 trillion, or 18% of our economy, and over $15,000 per person on health care. Still, many people lack access to health care here. Whatever we get for this huge outlay, it is not good health. Everyone's health in the United States suffers despite spending a massive amount on health care. Causes include our huge economic inequality and the lack of support for early life when a large part of adult health is programmed. Most people believe their own actions and health care matter most. The challenge is to get people to unlearn what doesn't serve them and relearn what matters. Easier said than done. It's easy to strike up a conversation about your workout routine or a new diet you've been trying. These can certainly improve your physical fitness, but when it comes to the core aspects of your overall health, it has more to do with where you live and the inequity in your environment. Inequity is rooted in politics and the political choices we make. Starting these important conversations requires us to find ways to be comfortable discussing uncomfortable topics. We must shine a light on what produces health in a society. But first, you must believe that Americans die younger than they should, and that the reason is not personal behaviors or the lack of the right medical care. In this series, we're going to provide some basic tips and strategies to help you play an effective part in improving America's health. In our first series, Unwell Nation, we went into detail of our poor health status and the major causes. Elected officials don't want to address our poor health as it won't please their donors. Those working in public health also avoid the topic. We are sicker than people elsewhere when we're supposed to be number one in everything. If you look at the data comparing our health to other countries, you won't find contradictions to our being sicker and dying younger. The vast economic inequality in the U.S. produces bad health outcomes by stressing us out. We're cutting social supports that help poorer people survive, but even the rich aren't that healthy. While medical care can treat illness and injury, the lack of medical care is not the cause of health problems. If we don't know what the problem is, there's no way we can address it and improve our health. Creating awareness of our poor health is the first big step to improving health in the United States. In this series, we'll detail various actions you can take to improve our health in the United States. If we do what is necessary to improve overall health in the country, everyone's health will improve. The impact will be felt more among those who are disadvantaged, young, or not yet born. As good as it feels to say we want to leave the world a better place for our children, it can be a challenge to work on causes that you may not benefit from. If you ask someone, do you want health or health care? Most are confused, struggling to find distinction between the two concepts. Explain the difference in simple terms. Medical care treats illness and injury, but the lack of medical care is not the cause of illness and injury. Americans are taught from an early age that the United States is the best country and leads the world in everything. Every school day begins by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. In reality, we do not have liberty and justice for all. This is just one example of how to kick off these difficult conversations that need to happen in every community, including yours. Okay, you understand that we in the United States do not have good health compared to people in many other nations, and the reasons lie outside the realm of personal behaviors and health care. So what are you going to do? It's a huge task that you have to be motivated to take on. You want to do something other than binge on Netflix. Maybe you have children in the U.S. and you want their lives to be healthier. Maybe you have grandchildren, as I do. It's not fair that they should live shorter, sicker lives just because they live here. People in the U.S. have rallied around big causes such as the struggle for civil rights in the 1960s and again today. Our declining health should be among those priorities, but is overlooked, pushed aside, and ignored. The best way to stay motivated in this challenge is to keep your eye on the prize and develop a strategy that incorporates what you're passionate about. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's too easy to give up. I have been focused on this work for over 30 years and still love it. I find it gives the most meaning to my life. Focus on the skills you have. I'm good at amassing and organizing information on population health in ways that I can easily access that material to present in various ways. I maintain huge computer files of visual materials. I like speaking in public, writing and teaching, and practice to improve those skills. I'm not so good at managing others or leading organizations, so I try to involve others with those talents. Do you enjoy painting or photography? Create a series of visuals that illustrate the concepts we've talked about on the Healing America channel and ask your local coffee shop to display them for a month. Donate them to a community center. Do you belong to a social club or an organization? Ask to give a talk or lead a discussion about the effects of stress on our health. Make it hyper-local. Is there something in the news right now that is causing stress in your community? Focus on that, since everyone there will be able to relate. Are you connected on social media? You can have a field day there. Use your personal stories to demonstrate how your environment has affected your health. Finally, what can you do without being paid for your work? How can you incorporate your strategy into your spare time and your current activity schedule? How can you make these efforts into part of your daily routine without burning yourself out? Do you have other ways of supporting yourself, since there's no occupation focused on improving health in the United States? I got paid for doing medical work and teaching at the university. Take a personal assessment. What do you enjoy doing? What are your skills? And what can you maintain for a long time for little or no pay without adding additional hardship? We learn best from stories. They personalize the message. We started as children being told fairy tales and other stories. It is also true for adults. Scholarly material is less likely to move us to action. Graphs can be confusing and not as easily remembered as a story. A good story features a protagonist or hero, an antagonist or villain, some inciting action to set the characters in motion, conflict or challenge to overcome, and resolution. Fairy tales are excellent examples. A good story can be fiction or a true story fictionalized. An example is my acne treatment with radiation in 1958 that I told in episode 8 of the first series, Unwell America. I'm the protagonist with acne, and the inciting action is treatment, with the villain being the radiation used to treat the acne. The conflict comes from developing cancer as a result, and the resolution is that I am still alive. Inventory your life's experiences as they relate to health in the United States. Pick one of those stories that speaks to emotions and refine it. Hearing a good story can make people laugh, it can make them cry, and most importantly, it can make them think. It can make them relate. With students, I ask them to recount good experiences with medical care, and also ask if they are aware of not so good experiences, if not with them personally, with family or friends. Another good method that deals with U.S. health is to ask people to tell stories of their experiences in other countries. Once you begin doing this, keep records of the stories and what prompts you used that elicited the strongest response. This is how you build a storybook you can use in conversations to improve America's health. The most effective stories relate to your personal life. They are meaningful to you, and you can use your experiences to connect emotionally with others. Reflect on your life's experiences, beginning with early life. I tell one about my 4-year-old brother dying when I was 2, and how that affected our family for many years afterwards. The only thing we did was grieve and go to the cemetery weekly. In our last episode, we discussed reflection on our experiences with medical care. Lessons taught in school in other times can be a great source of stories. My 6th grade teacher taught us to go to the bank as soon as we could and take out a small loan and then pay it back to earn a good credit rating. A good credit rating will allow us to borrow a large sum of money later. I was being taught to not live within my means. Some consider the purpose of education to make us consumers and workers. Consider your role in the workforce. Long before I became a doctor, I was trained to sell magazine subscriptions in neighborhoods where people generally couldn't afford them. My morals only allowed me to last one day. Years later, as a doctor, I saw medical harm being done. What about the role of the advertising media and how it impacted you, especially in early life? I can still repeat advertising jingles on the radio and TV from 75 years ago. Mind control in action. Besides these personal chronicles, those of your family and close friends are a treasure trove of material that can present valuable lessons. My sister-in-law, a school teacher, left work one day, went to the top-rated hospital in Washington State for elective surgery the next, and died on the operating table from an instrument malfunction. In relating the story, include your feelings. That is where the power lies. Inventory your life and begin the process of telling stories relating to health in the U.S. Once you have some stories to tell, you need to practice delivery and refine your material. We are constantly exposed to good stories that don't just appear by accident. As a teenager, I worked selling soft drinks at a large venue with a featured comedian who did the main event show. I got to see the show every night. Although he appeared to ad-lib his material as if he were making it up on the spot, the same lines were repeated with the same cadence every single night. He likely had writers who produced his jokes. He practiced delivery extensively beforehand so it came across as if it were off the cuff. This is what you want to aim for in speaking to others. While the event I described had no room for audience reaction, you want to build that into your performance. It requires skill and experience to pull that off, so allow time to rehearse your delivery. It's the old saw. How do you get to perform at Carnegie Hall? Practice. Begin by sketching out the story in a form that is comfortable for you. Writing in cursive results in better retention, but most of us will use keyboards. Then read it out loud and feel how it flows. Tell the story in front of a mirror. Record it with your phone and listen afterwards. This has been my method for the TEDx talks I've done. Then practice in situations that are familiar to you. A family dinner is a great place to start. A workplace lunchroom comes to mind where others might enjoy hearing more than what you did over the weekend. Consider sitting on a bench in a public park and striking up a conversation with another person seated nearby. Public transportation can offer additional opportunities. One that I use to develop materials is when you get a marketing call on the phone, typically around dinner time, that is being recorded for quality assurance purposes. Steer the conversation over to your story, and it is likely the caller won't hang up. You have to be sensitive to the situation, of course. In all these efforts, keep track of what seems to work and what doesn't. Does a comment get a laugh, or a groan, or a wow response? These say a great deal. I keep a list of successful statements and refer to them when I'm developing new material. I've laid out some food for thought so you can begin to tell meaningful stories and practice them to gain confidence to begin informing others on the state of health in the United States. Consider ways of presenting these ideas to others in addition to talking about them. Make signs or posters that use brief, bold statements that Americans die first. More than 50 years ago, while I was a medical student at Stanford, I placed a poster detailing a drug ad in a medical journal in one of the main hallways in the medical school. This was before we had direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs. I called it the Drug Ad of the Month. I would place the journal ad, add my own written commentary, and talked about this form of marketing in medical school classes. Somehow, the San Francisco Chronicle got wind of this and wrote a story about my project. This led to numerous responses from readers, leading me to determine this was an effective way to get my ideas out there. The old school way of going viral. Years later, I placed various material on our health status as a country in the University of Washington School of Public Health buildings, typically on bulletin boards and on my office door. These depicted the Health Olympics, showing how shamefully poor the U.S. performed. In 1999, I took advantage of protests over global trade outside the World Trade Organization's meetings in Seattle. During the demonstrations, I carried a sign that said, "WTO makes us sick." Simple, bold, and memorable. I was approached by a radio station covering the event and interviewed. News medias are always looking for stories. Give them opportunities to feature our health. Turn on the news today and you'll see plenty of signs at various protests. Take note of which signs you see that resonate with you and dissect why they are effective. Wear your issues. Relay your beliefs without opening your mouth. An activist taking a graphic design course produced a slogan, "Economic inequality makes us sick." This was placed on clothing, decals, mugs, and buttons that can still be ordered on the web. I wear such a button in public and also have the material inscribed on the back of my clipboard that I hold in front of me when speaking to people. I used to mount the graphic on my bicycle as well. There are more than just a few opportunities to communicate that our health status is not what we would expect for the richest and most powerful country in the world. Don't wait for someone to ask you the question. Make a factual, bold statement that doesn't require an invitation to speak. The internet certainly isn't perfect, but it offers each of us many places to publish writings about our health. Blogs, social media, comment sections, and more. To be effective, our writings have to be succinct, to the point, and tell others what can be and needs to be done. An achievable plan of action. A tall order, to be sure. A good place to begin is the comments section of news stories. Major newspapers encourage comments on their websites because they want the traffic to inflate their advertising rates. Commentary is usually closed within a day or so, and people often use this to express their opinions on the news of the day. For many, it's a way to let off steam. But what you post can be a catalyst to stimulate reflection and deep thinking. Letters to the editor related to the news of the day are another effective tool. You might even get a shot of dopamine by seeing your name in print. Newspapers typically have guidelines for letters on their website together with word limits. Make sure you look for these guidelines before submitting your letter. Op-eds or opinion pieces are another opportunity. These typically relate to recent newsworthy events. Following a front-page news report on medical harm, I submitted an op-ed entitled "Medical Care May Harm Your Health," which provided important details not presented in the newspaper's original article. I've placed several long pieces in Seattle newspapers, but these opportunities are more rare these days. I wrote a piece for Newsweek back in 2001. Their fact-checkers impressed me. Submit articles to student newspapers and small-town publications, trade journals. There are also myriad listservs that accept subscribers' writing. I was asked to blog monthly for the Planetary Health Weekly some years back. I aggregated these on Substack and used this as a forum for my expression. If you watch videos like this one on YouTube, you can comment below most videos, and we encourage you to do so on this video. There are few such presentations on our health, such as this channel, but hopefully more will come along, and the almighty algorithms will direct attention to our health. Don't be in a big hurry to write just anything and send it off. To be published, to get your point across, to make an impact, writing should be good. Find someone you trust to review and edit your material. If you doubt the impact a single person can have, then don't be one person. Work together. Divide and conquer. Renowned anthropologist Margaret Mead said, quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." End of quote. Begin by building a small team of similarly minded people. Get together for coffee or some face-to-face meeting. Build a structure, that is, have someone record what happened in that session to share with attendees and plan the next one. This is how every committed group begins. Plan an inspiring event. Perhaps invite an outsider to speak to the group. Choice of speaker matters. Someone lively and engaging that understands U.S. health. You could play a game at a meeting. The Last Straw, a board game on the social determinants of health, works well. Grow to have regular meetings, a membership list, a social media site, and whatever else appeals. Join clubs, guilds, or organizations related to your work. I created the Population Health Forum in 1997 that worked for the next 2 decades. I joined Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility and created the Economic Inequity Health Task Force that meets regularly. Not only is building a community a great way to deal with the loneliness epidemic here, it can lead to actions required to improve health. Despite what some may feel, the United States still has elements of a functioning democracy. Elected officials at the local, state, and federal levels depend on a voting constituency to exist. They want to be reelected. They care about their electorate's concerns. There are many ways to inform them. The most effective way is to contact them with your issues via a handwritten letter sent by mail. In order of effectiveness, a typed mail letter is next, and then email. Since almost everyone sends emails, your posted letter will stand out and be more easily shared with staffers and not stagnate in inboxes. You can find your elected officials on the internet, as well as opportunities to meet them both virtually and face-to-face. Find out what committees they're on as a guide to their interests. Make an appointment to stop by their office to meet with them in person. Know their schedule of town hall meetings and show up. Don't go alone, but appear with a group to put forth your ideas. There's strength in numbers. Often, rather than the elected official, those present will be staff, which is less ideal, but not a waste of your time. Whether by a letter or in person or a phone call, focus on a specific issue to discuss rather than generalities. Use the writing skills you've already developed to draft a statement or question that requires a response from the official. Something along the lines of, you know that people in our state die younger than those in all the other rich nations and even folks in Cuba. What is your plan to address our living shorter, sicker lives? If you've garnered their interest, then have some confirmatory material that backs up what you've said. On the clipboard I carry, with the graphic I described on the back, I have pages of material with sources that present killer facts. Graphs and pictures can quickly visualize your point and be very effective. A picture says 1,000 words. Bring extra handouts to leave behind with the official and their staff, together with your contact information, asking for their response. You may want to present your response to various legislation being considered. Know the bill numbers and their content, and talk about how you feel on those proposals. Be cognizant of time when the energy starts to diminish. Use this to schedule another meeting. Follow up the meeting appropriately. Social media began with bulletin boards in 1978, and today impacts around 70% of the global population. A substantial number have known the internet all their lives. The most popular sites are currently Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, and TikTok in that order. You likely have a favorite, so start by using that to present the health status of the United States. This appears on YouTube as I've used the medium to follow the ideas of certain people. I found almost no content regarding declining health in the U.S., so I devoted the previous series, Unwell America, to that topic. While there are similarities between the different platforms, each has its own unique features and content style, as well as different demographics of their audiences. You want to understand these parameters and intricacies when generating your content. Perhaps you are adept using and posting on one of these channels. You need to adapt your message into the platform's format and investigate what will get the most views. For my initial efforts with YouTube, I produced 10-minute segments integrating supportive evidence. A focus group pointed out the videos were too long and suffered from being presented by an old man. The next series, of which this is a part, were half the length. I included supportive material and additional context in the descriptions. The challenge becomes increasing viewership. YouTube and Facebook are used by most age groups. Younger people favor Instagram and TikTok. Shorter postings prevail there. Recognize that social media predominantly presents issues about mental health than physical health and lifestyle, with the focus mostly on what individuals should do. There is little material about Unwell America. Disinformation, discrediting material, and misinformation, false facts, abounds, with trust declining. There are great opportunities for innovation here. Begin with social media that you use and develop content there. The U.S. Constitution requires an address by the President to inform the Congress. In recent times, only one such speech did not present our state as strong. President Gerald Ford in 1975 said it was not good. The speech should make comparisons with other unions and present a true evaluation of the nation instead of serving as a pep talk. What do you measure to diagnose a nation? For the United States, it seems to be our military strength and wealth creation, but not the health of the people. For the 2025 address to Congress, the President presented much misinformation. The true State of the Union would point out that people in some 50 other nations live longer, healthier lives than Americans. The daily carnage is equivalent to 2 fully loaded jumbo jets crashing every day, killing over 700 people. It should include details about the limitations of health care, as well as changing personal behaviors in this process. Cuts in access to medical care are not good, but are not the primary reason for our poor health. A better topic for the address would be to describe the transfer of income and wealth from the bottom 90% of Americans to the richest via tax avoidance by the rich. Another would be the lack of support for early life. Ask why only 2 populous nations don't have a national policy of paid maternity leave, and much more. The address could lay out steps to change the tax structure of the country and focus on social spending. Then follow the health outcomes to show that health has stopped declining, has begun to improve. The State of the Union is one of the few events televised live on every broadcast network, as well as tens of cable networks simultaneously. The media spend days dissecting the speech, the rebuttal, and the reaction. Whether they watch the entire address or not, it's hard for Americans to avoid hearing at least the highlights. Awareness of these issues would be a great first step on the road to recovery. We began this series, Improving America's Health, by pointing out the deadly fact that we don't have long, healthy lives for living in the United States. That remains unbelievable to most folks. Cause of this health crisis includes our very high economic inequality and the lack of attention paid to early life when a large part of adult health is determined. Creating awareness is the challenge, and many steps for rising to it were presented. Begin by using appropriate language and not conflating health and healthcare. Inventory your personal skills that could deal with U.S. health and consider what you enjoy doing regarding those skills. And what can you do for a long time without being paid? Telling stories is the best way to communicate. Begin with personal ones. Inventory stories that relate to American health issues. Practice them to improve your delivery. Test them out on audiences in your circles, like your family, in the workplace, places of worship, public transportation, your neighborhood, and so on. Get good at producing written materials that can be responses as commentary on social media, letters to the editor, and other communication channels. Build a community devoted to improving health in the U.S. Contact elected officials to engage them in making this country healthier. Push for a real State of the Union address that makes comparison with other unions. Social media presents huge opportunities. Use your skills effectively. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe. This ends our series on improving America's health. Our next series will detail aspects of what is not likely to work in improving health. Thank you.